And welcome, sports fans, to today's Sports Roundtable. Glad you joined us today, as it's a very exciting time in the sports season, as we have pretty much wrapped up a couple of weeks of high school basketball, nearly a month here in southeast Missouri, and heading into the Christmas week, as we're going to be wrapping up a few games early this week and then heading into Christmas. And of course that means the Bloomfield Christmas tournament's right around the corner. We are just under 10 days away from the Bloomfield Christmas tournament, and of course we're going to be bringing that live to you here on YHC once again this year. And we've had quite a few games already, and had a busy slate over the last few weeks, including last night we were down at the Clarkton Holiday Tournament for its championship game, Portageville-Risco, which we're going to get into the final and the highlights here momentarily. And we're also going to have Jason Irby, Portageville basketball coach, along with us this morning, so that's going to be exciting to have him on with the success of the Portageville Bulldogs early on this year. So stick around, we'll have that in a few moments. And go ahead and skipping to the games from last night, and a game that we brought to you live last night here on YHC. Portageville over Risco in that the Clarkton Holiday Tournament Championship. Final score 54-46. The Portageville Bulldogs over the Risco Tigers. And a really nice game last night, competitive throughout, and kind of low scoring to start out, but it really picked up. The momentum really picked up towards the second half. And take a look at some highlights of that game from last night, as we see here.
In the corner to Myers. Myers puts it on the floor. Nice pass to Burnett, lays it up and in. And to Alexander. Now they get it to Torrey. Torrey launches a three, knocks it down.
A nice three-pointer on the left wing.
Burnett stops just inside the free throw line. Jumper.
Knocking it down at the free throw line. Here,
and Burnett off the glass and good.
Really not getting into any kind of rhythm offensively.
And
E.J.
Myers knocking down the three on the right
Lance
side.
stops,
Bub Lance
spots up, and
knocking down a three in the second quarter to open
Burnett
up.
stops, launches a three off the board. End of the game is Goot. Torrey launches a three and knocks it down. Doesn't look.
And we see here Nathan Burnett getting to the basket with the finish in the paint. Nice drive by Burnett here to close out the first half. E.J. Myers knocking down the three, and into the second half we see here Bub Lance knocking down a few of his, one of his three-pointers on the night. Daniel Carter, an aggressive dribble to the basket and the finish here. E.J. Myers knocking down another three. He had a nice night. I think 4 3-pointers on the night. There, a nice dish by Ian Torrey to Alexander for the two. Three-pointer on the right side. I think that was Burnett on the three here. Burnett knocking down a three at the top of the key. And really got competitive here in the third quarter as Portageville started to make its run. Bub Lance knocking down another three. Ian Torrey crossing over left at the elbow, knocking down the shot to open up the fourth. And a nice pull-up jumper at the top of the three at the key for three again. Torrey really started to heat up in the fourth quarter. And nice backdoor cut, finish at the basket. Torrey in transition, so effective at the basket. And we see here Torrey getting a nice rebound, put back off the free throw towards the end of the game here. And Torrey looking for Hunter Gates for an easy two there. So as you see there, really nice effort by both teams. Both teams had a good game last night, but Portageville making the plays especially late in the game. Ian Torrey pretty much took over the fourth quarter, scoring I think 15 or 17 points just in the fourth quarter, and really setting the tone for the Bulldogs to finish that off last night in Clarkton. But two very good teams this year. Portageville just a little bit more size, more dynamic play at the basket, and Risco a little undersized, but they could shoot the ball. We saw E.J. Myers light it up last night, especially early. Nathan Burnett filling it up as well, and Morgan Ludwig certainly has that capability for the Tigers as well. So these two teams are going to be fun to watch for the remainder of the year, and we'll talk more about Risco's, the game we've got coming up with them. And Portageville will be heading into another Christmas tournament here in just over a week in the Bloomfield Christmas tournament. They'll look pretty good to do pretty good in that one as well, so be looking forward to that in just over a week in Bloomfield. And take a look at some other games from last night. Big SEMO Conference matchup. It was looking to be quite a scare for the Sikeston Bulldogs. The Notre Dame Bulldogs took on Sikeston and took them about to the wire. 73-65 victory for the Bulldogs. Sikeston turned it on in the fourth quarter, got the victory as Fred Thatch for Sikeston sat out that game. Just a minor injury, just wanted to avoid a further injury. So don't see Sikeston play without Thatch very often. I'm sure it was an adjustment, probably at least for a half for the Bulldogs, but they really turned it on in the second half and got past Notre Dame in that SEMO Conference matchup last night. Also, Malden over Scott County Central big, 80-44. They faced off back in the Oran Invitational Tournament and took care of Scott County Central once again last night, 80-44. Poplar Bluff over Soldan International Studies, 79-70. Saxony Lutheran over Perryville, 74-43. East Prairie over Oak Ridge, 95-72. This is one team to really look out for. East Prairie, I believe that's a conference game there in the Scott, Mississippi. And East Prairie got a big win over Oran. I believe that was earlier in the week or last Friday. I can't remember. But East Prairie beat Oran in the last week. Very impressive victory there. And this is one team that's really turned heads early on this year, the East Prairie Eagles, defeating New Madrid, Portageville, and Oran. Really looking good early on. They're another team to look out for in that Bloomfield Christmas tournament this year. So East Prairie looking really good out east there in Mississippi County. And Bernie over Bell City in the Stoddard County Conference last night, 81-29. Big win for the Mules. Also, we have Advance over Bloomfield, also in the Stoddard County Conference, 69-49. Advance over Bloomfield. And Advance looking pretty strong once again early on this year, coming back off their runner-up finish in Class 1 last season. Dexter over Richland in the Stoddard County Conference, no problem for the Bearcats, 106-34. And, of course, Dexter with the top seed in the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. And Kennett over Doniphan, impressive victory for the Kennett Indians, 70-51. Kennett struggled early on this year, taking on Doniphan, and strong night for Patrick Maddox. I believe he had 22 points in a half last night. I believe in the first half had a big night and getting contribution out of a swell of other players as well. Clay Barton had over 20 points for the Doniphan Dons, but Kennett beating Doniphan. Impressive victory there. Kennett, the 9th seed in the Bloomfield tournament. Doniphan, the 6th seed. So interesting there as Kennett might make some noise in the early round of that Christmas tournament. We'll see. But impressive victory for the Indians last night. Cape Central over Farmington, 45-44. Another victory there for the Cape Central Tigers. Jackson over Vianney, 66-60. 66-60. Jackson Indians get a nice victory over Vianney out of St. Louis last night. Kelly over Woodland, 54-46. And that's your games from last night. And speaking of the Portageville and Risco game, you can watch that replay here on YHC and YHCTV.com. Today at noon, Saturday at noon, and 6:30. You can also catch it through the weekend. Already available to watch on our Facebook page, as we brought that through Facebook Live last night, and it's also available on demand at YHCTV.com. You can watch online there as well anytime on our website. A really good game last night, and we'll be looking forward to seeing those two teams down the road. Looks like they've got some good seasons ahead of them this year. And speaking of the next game we've got, and this is our last game until the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, we got Bell City versus Risco, and that will be live Monday night with about a 6:45 start. They're going to play 2 quarters of JV, so that sets at about a 6:45 approximate start for that live broadcast Monday night from Roy Hahn Gymnasium in Risco. So look forward to that one. That'll be our last broadcast until the Christmas Tournament, the day after Christmas, the 26th through the 29th. At Bloomfield here on YHC. So we'll be looking forward to another Risco game Monday night here on YHC. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Jason Irby, the Portageville basketball coach, and we're going to be along with him to talk about their victory last night, as well as their season so far. Having an impressive season so far this year for the Portageville Bulldogs, and we're going to be along with Coach Irby in our next segment. So we'll be back in just a moment.
At Ag Explore, we're farmers too. So we know that farming's never been a 9-to-5 job. Just like the farmer, we work overtime to bring you whatever it takes. Solutions like InZone help you retain 47% more nitrogen, with an overall average increase of 12 bushels per acre. Imagine what InZone can do for you. Ag Explore.
Yeah, I got a little bit.
Well, it wasn't.
At New Wave, we're proud to call the communities we serve our home. Our customers tell us having a local office is important to them. That's why we maintain dozens of local offices and employ over 500 skilled employees, all focused on delivering the best customer experience. We don't just connect communities, we connect to our communities, helping support the schools, organizations, and events that support all of us. Thank you for choosing New Wave Communications, your local provider of internet, TV, and phone.
And welcome back, and we're along with Portageville basketball coach Jason Irby. And Coach Irby, I know you've got a late finish last night, so it's the morning came off early this morning, I would imagine.
Yes, it did. It was a long week, and like you said last night, the third place game was a long one, and we got kind of a late start. But anytime you can come out with a win and win a tournament like that, you'll sacrifice that. So. Anyways, good week for our kids.
Yeah, and these tournaments can be rough, especially when they're all week long with a late finish. Especially when you play well and play in those championship games, they can certainly be a long week and certainly late night finishes heading into the weekend. So you look good last night. You did get out to a pretty slow start. I think we had you down for about 5 or 6 turnovers, probably in the first 4 minutes of the game, the first half of that first quarter. So it was a slow start, but it's got back into it, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I thought the first half, honestly, we kind of had a deer in the headlights look. Our kids honestly hadn't been in a championship game in a long time, so I thought you could tell that, whereas Risco has been successful in recent years and been on that stage a little bit more. So, but our kids, were fortunately able to weather that. But as you said early on, we struggled with our offense. I thought we stood around a lot and tried to kind of just watch Ian and hope that he would. He played a lot for us last year, but he was up and down. Early in the year, he's been a lot more consistent for us. His shots really improved. He's taken a big step in his game. And then the other thing about those guys is they're very unselfish with the ball. Our stat keeper has been with our program since the mid-1980s, all the way back to Coach Bible's days. He commented to me a couple days ago, this might be the best passing team we've had since the 90s as far as just giving it up and making the extra pass. And so we're pleased with the way those guys are playing, and they're going to have to continue to play that way as we get into even a more difficult part of our schedule now.
Yeah, you've had some pretty tough early on games already. I know you had East Prairie. You were a little shorthanded that night. They got you pretty good that night. A very good East Prairie team early on, so that was a pretty tough test, especially shorthanded. You had a couple of kids out for that game, so that was a tough. It would have been nice if you were at full roster there. That would have been a nice matchup to see, as good as East Prairie's been playing early on this year. And Risco, I tell you, that's one of the best shooting teams you'll come across this season. They've got 2 or 3 kids that can really stroke it. So that was a pretty tough test, especially on your backcourt covering those shooters last night.
Yeah, I thought our perimeter defenders were really good last night. That was something we struggled with in the first round of the tournament against Cooter. We didn't guard very well, and then last night, though, I think Burnett ended up with 19, but I thought Hunter Gates did a really good job sticking with him. He comes off so many screens. It's hard to limit him completely, but I thought Hunter did a good job, and he played on it. He played in basically the whole game, and other kids stepped up and gave help when needed. And Myers got loose on us a couple times.
Comes to Portageville, they kick it over to Lance, wide open for a 3, and he tore it.
Daniel and Hunter
Stop,
really
pops.
Nice for us, and that was a huge key for us in trying to get those guys. So.
Yeah, he certainly got the guys involved last night. Boy, Torrey's, he's seeing here, he's out in the open court. He can finish at the basket, and he's really developed that perimeter game, the 3-point shot he can knock down, and they're on the offensive glass. Well, he's just being able to do about anything you ask him to do on the court on both sides. He's just really developed his game over the last year or two.
Yeah, he made a big jump from his sophomore to his junior year in terms of his confidence as a basketball player. Previous to that, I think he kind of just always was a kid that felt like he was a good athlete playing basketball, but he really began to work on his skill. And last year, you saw a big jump in his game from his sophomore to junior year. And then this year again, I think he's shooting the ball better than he ever has. He's been staying after practice, getting shots up, which is a credit to him. It's a good leader right there to show that example to the other kids, and it's really paid off for him in his own game. And as you said, he's just a tough cover because we can post him. He can get to the rim and finish with both hands. He has developed the outside shot. When he gets fouled, he's been making his free throws at a good rate. And then he's such a load on the glass. I think last night he had 15 rebounds and also had 5 assists. So he just does a little bit or a lot of everything for us. And at times, we can put him on a really good offensive player as well late in the game, and his length will bother them as well as Of course, he typically guards a post player most of the game, but he is so multi-dimensional and such a great athlete, and has done a lot of good things for our school athletics, not just basketball. He's a great football player, great baseball player. He's just a well-rounded athlete, has a high athletic IQ, I would say.
Yeah, and that's what you've got this year's athleticism. Hunter Gates, Torrey, also Alexander. Boy, he's a tough kid that can surely pound underneath, and Carter and Lance, they get out in open court. Well, they're tough as well, as we saw last night. So you've really got quite the athleticism on your team this year, and that's going to make opponents tough to go against you. That's certainly going to be an asset for you all moving forward.
Yeah, we're more athletic than we have been in recent years. We're not as big as we were last year. We lost the Garmin kid, but we make up for it a little bit with athleticism. We're trying to make a concerted effort to push the ball a little bit more off of our opponent's misses and get some easy stuff in transition. And as you said, Lamar Alexander is a real big factor. Last year was the first year he ever played basketball in his life, and he kind of learned a little bit on the JV level, and this year he's really stepped up. But summertime was good for him. He got to play a lot of basketball, and he's not a real big kid. He plays around the basket for us, but he's super athletic, and as you said, he's tough as nails. He brings that toughness to us. He leads our team early in the season in charges drawn. Just a tough kid and athletic, and Great kid to coach. He's a hard worker, so he brings a different element to our team that makes us more athletic, tougher. And as you said, all those kids can get out and run. And we didn't use our bench a lot last night. We've got a couple of kids over there that can help as well. We just kind of rode our first five most of the night last night. Just kind of felt they were in the second half in a pretty good groove, so we rode them. But we've got a couple of kids over there too that can play that same style. So.
Sure. And, we got the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. Do you have any games this week before the tournament?
No, we don't have any game. We're practicing a lot this week, trying to improve on some things. So.
Okay, so you're on break until the Christmas tournament, the day after Christmas. So I'll be looking forward to you in that tournament, Jason. You're coming in as the 7th seed. I thought you might have been a little low in those seedings. So that certainly makes it interesting. I think there's a couple teams that might have been seeded a little lower than probably we'll see to turn out in the tournament, but only a handful of games to work off of. No real surprise that some teams might be seeded a little higher and some lower based on the early season schedule. But I tell you, as a 7th seed, you're probably the scariest 7th seed possibly in the tournament's history. You really make it hard on some teams, especially defensively. And I tell you, as a 7th seed, you're going to be pretty scary come that Christmas tournament there in Bloomfield.
Yeah, we look forward to playing in that tournament every year. I feel like it's the best tournament in Southeast Missouri. The atmosphere in the gym and the just the people that run it are great. We kind of understood where we probably get seated somewhere in that range. It's a tough tournament. I feel like all the teams that were seated above us or got off to good starts. We don't play very many games early, so it's hard to get a real read on a team. So, and we certainly are looking forward to it. But we did draw a tough matchup that first round playing the home team in Bloomfield. We saw them a couple times already, and of course they have one of the best guards in the area, and Peyton Bell, and they're very well coached. And so we know we've got our work cut out for us. We've got some things this week we've got to improve on and clean up, and hopefully get some guys well. We had a couple guys battling sickness and some illness, so hopefully those guys can get better. But it certainly will be a tough challenge. I feel like there's several teams in that tournament that can make a good run. We'd like to think we're one of them, but you can't make a good run unless you win that first one. So we'll see how it goes.
Sure, and we'll be looking forward to it. It's been kind of fun seeing some of these young kids. I know Tori, he's been in there in the mix since a freshman, but some of the other kids that are really starting to develop and progress over the last number of years. It's nice to see how that comes to how it develops and comes to a season like you might have this year. So you've had some young kids that's been there in the mix for a while, and you can really tell that they've put in the work. It's really starting to show on the court, and we'll be looking forward to the rest of the way for the Portageville Bulldogs. You've gotten off to a great start and probably destined for a pretty good finish as well. So we'll be looking forward to the rest of the way, Jason, and we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. I know it was a late finish last night getting home, but we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to be on. Thank you for having us, and go Bulldogs.
All right, so we'll see you next at the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, and have a great Christmas, Jason.
All right, you too. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And Jason Irby, everyone. Appreciate Jason spending some time. Well, I tell you, it was a late finish last night. We got out of there, and I think we left the gym at around 10:30. So that was a pretty late finish from that one last night. So I appreciate him coming on with us early this morning, being able to share some time with us, and we appreciate that. And we're going to take another break real quick, and we'll be back with more coming up.
Well, I love it.
I know, right? I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it.
Is it suede?
Suede. Love suede.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
Well, I love it. I know, right? I saw it and I was like, have to have it. Is it suede? It's suede. I love suede.
That's why we're there with renter's insurance when things go wrong, but also here with a rewards credit card to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Chris Brannon in Dexter today.
For more than 75 years, the law firm of Crow, Reynolds, Shetley, McVeigh & Shear, LLP, has served the legal needs of Southeast Missouri. Located at 308 1st Street in Kennett, Crow, Reynolds, Shetley, McVeigh & Shear, LLP is a full-service law firm providing representation in a wide range of areas, such as personal injury, workers' compensation, family law, criminal law, probate, business, and estate planning. For all your legal needs, call Crow, Reynolds, Shetley, McVeigh & Shear, LLP at 573-888-4664.
And welcome back, and we're going to take a look at the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament seeds. They've been out for over a week now, as that was last weekend. And the seed meeting, and well, I'm sure these are well circulated already, but taking a look at the seeds this year, top seed, the Dexter Bearcats and the defending champions. There with the number 1 seed, they'll take on 16th seed of Richland. They played last night, so won't be any problem for the Bearcats in that first round. And the neighboring, this is the way the bracket will look for the tournament. And 8th seeded South Pembiscott will take on 9th seeded Kennett. And 4th seeded Malden will take on 13th seeded Twin Rivers. 5th seeded East Prairie versus 12th seeded Van Buren. 2nd seeded Hayti will take on 15th seeded Holcomb. 7th seeded Portageville versus 10th Bloomfield. 3rd Bernie versus 14th Gideon. And 6th Doniphan versus 11th Puxico. And that is your bracket. And there are going to be some very good matchups, potentially even on the first day. Of course, the later in the day, the more competitive your matches will be as they go from the 1 seed Dexter, the next game 2 seed Hayti, 3rd seed Bernie. They go down the list that way for the first day. Towards the end of the day, your most competitive games will likely be Portageville and Bloomfield. They're the 7-10 game, and South Pembiscott and Kennett, the nightcap there with the 8-9 game. So we'll see what happens. Doniphan and Puxico. We never know about that one. The 6th seed Doniphan Dons, the 11th seed of Puxico Indians. And the second day could be very competitive. The one game that I'm really looking forward to likely matching up is Portageville and Hayti in that second round, the 2 versus 7. There's going to be very even teams, like I talked with Coach Irby in the previous segment. I think Portageville probably got seeded a little lower than they should have been, just based on how well they're playing. But they could be a very good matchup there in the second round with Hayti and Portageville, both Bowie Hill Conference teams. And Portageville will have that size advantage. Hayti, not much size this year. A lot like Risco, small but very perimeter-based team. They really get after it, though, force turnovers, and try to make offense off their defense. So Portageville will have that advantage, and that's going to be quite the case this year for Portageville. With the athleticism and the size they've got, especially with Ian Torrey. So that's probably the game to look out for on that second day. Also matching up there on the second day, Malden and East Prairie. That'll be a good one to watch as well if they both advance. But both teams playing very well this year. Malden playing well, East Prairie playing well, and that could be a very good matchup on the second day as well. So some very good matchups early on we'll see in the first couple of days, and of course in the 3rd and 4th day will be the best games of the tournament, and we'll be looking forward to it. All 26 games will come to you live right here on Channel 21 and YHCTV.com, and even Facebook Live as well. So look forward to that Christmas tournament here on YHC once again this year, and it's going to be a very good tournament. I tell you that, coming into basketball this year, you thought just coming in, probably overall, we're probably going to be a little down from last year. Last year was such a great year across the board, small schools to large schools. It was going to be hard to really duplicate last season. But I tell you, some of these teams have really come a long way. Notably, just speaking of the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament teams that have really impressed early on, probably more than expected. Malden, East Prairie, and Portageville, I think they've really stepped up their games from last year and looking really good. And you can speak to that pretty much across Southeast Missouri this year. Teams have really stepped up their game from last year, and going down the Tri-County Conference, some teams that are looking pretty good that maybe didn't expect much out of or as much out of this year. Clarkton's gotten out to a slow start, but they're starting to put things together, looking pretty competitive there in the Tri-County. And also Cooter. Cooter defeated Clarkton in that consolation consolation championship game last night there at Clarkton, and Cougars looking pretty solid. So, that Tri-County Conference was pretty weak last year with the exception of Risco. Those teams have stepped up this year and likely to make that conference much more competitive this season. So it is a pretty good year once again this year in high school basketball. Of course, you've got the Advance returning, really competitive team there in Class 1. Bernie really stepping up as they've gotten some of those underclassmen starting now to be juniors and seniors, looking really good there in the Stoddard County Conference. So, teams have really stepped up their game. Probably a handful of teams have really stepped up their game to really elevate the level of basketball this year in Southeast Missouri. So we'll see how it plays out the rest of the way, but it's very exciting so far. Watching quite a few of these teams really step up their games to make the overall basketball competitiveness much higher early on this season. And we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We don't have a whole lot to talk about, but certainly we've had a busy week this week, and quite a few games taking place, and not going to be a whole lot of basketball this next week, but we will have live basketball for you Monday night. Monday night from Risco. We're going to bring you Bell City and Risco. That's going to be coming live to you Monday night. From Risco, Bell City and Risco. Only 2 quarters of JV there at Risco Monday night, starting at 6:45, around 6:45. So look forward to our last broadcast before the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Monday night, right here on YHC. We'll also come to you on our website, yhctv.com, and Facebook Live. So look forward to that. Monday night from Risco at the Roy Hahn Gymnasium, and we'll be looking forward to that as always. Down at Risco, always a fun gym to go to and experience, and have Risco 2 games in a row come Monday night. So look forward to that right here on YHC. And that's going to do it for us today, and we appreciate you for tuning in as always, and look forward to seeing you right back here with us next Saturday. We'll have another roundtable for you next Saturday morning, probably just a preview into the Christmas tournament, which will be fun, of course, as we look forward to that Christmas tournament in Bloomfield in just 10 days, coming to you here on YHC from Bloomfield. So look forward to that. And other than that, have a great week. Have a great Christmas. If you don't get to see us until then, have a great Christmas. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.